something that I know you guys both track is market share for platforms. This was a
Yep.
slide that Shopify put up. Mid-market, large, and enterprise. I'm not sure what the definitions are. I don't like being described as large. I don't know if some of these merchants are offended.
I'm sure they don't even notice, Rick. I kind of going back to that previous slide on subscriptions. I think that Shopify is a platform, and that's what they should be focused on. I know that they've been trying to do other things such as loyalty and driving traffic, but that's traditionally been done by the retailer or the seller. And I know they keep dabbling in those areas because they think they're like Amazon, but Amazon's more of a marketplace. Shopify is really a platform tool. And so everybody that I know that loves Shopify are individual retailers that are using the tool itself. That's where Shopify shines. I mean, I think it's great they're dabbling in these other things. I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to do the job of driving traffic and conversion and loyalty, because those are traditionally done by the retailer themselves or the marketplace.
Yeah, it's really tough for them. I can see why it's attractive, right? You could almost think Shopify in these rooms is kicking back and forth. Hey, why can't we be some kind of digital mall? And why can't we aggregate all of these things together and utilize what we have as a benefit? But they just cannot crack this code. So I think what else, like Kathy, are you thinking? Like, what other sector of the market should take notice based on what happened at?
Well, I mean, I think that what I love about what Shopify is doing is building the AI tools into their platform and innovating there. I think if they can focus on the actual platform itself and making sure it's cutting edge and working for its people, I think from an investor standpoint, of course, they always want diversification, but all of these other areas that they want to play in are very expensive, as we've talked about: payments, fulfillment, loyalty, marketing. From an investor standpoint, I'm glad that they're focusing on the core product itself and that they're continuing to get more and more stickiness on their platforms from their users. So I think in the end, they're riding the tightrope, but they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, Shopify they definitely gave a lot of play to AI. And I think one of the things that they made it clear was that as the company grows, the support and service teams are not going to grow as fast as the revenue, which means that Jeff Hoffmeister, the CFO, says free cash flow is important to us. And we're not going back on our strategy of not hiring, over hiring, which I guess they kind of implied that they overhired during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they laid off a lot of people earlier this year. And you haven't heard a lot of that since then. But they were very clear to tell Wall Street, we're not going to overhire again. Please, our margins are going to stay.
But not everyone loved the news, right? So what is that about? It was very mixed results. Did they just not hear enough of excitement?
If you kind of go back to what does the business look like? One of the things that happens is look, Shopify is growing very fast. Their GMV is growing fast. And as you can tell from their stats, they're taking share from a lot of different other platforms. And those are all things that are true. But at the end of the day, no matter what solutions that they're adding SMB, they're adding enterprise, they're adding POS, they're adding offline. How they make money is still payments. Wall Street was looking for really two things. Number one is can we give them guidance for 2024, which they didn't really give great guidance. But they kind of told people they weren't going to do that. And then second is, can they expand gross margins? And they really give no indication that they're going to expand gross margins, which means that there are only two ways that Shopify can grow at this stage. One is they can add more customers, and then they can sell more things to the same customers. Yep. But it's not like they have an AWS or an advertising business like Amazon. And so I think Wall Street, from my point of view, is waiting for Shopify to have that AWS.
So Kathy brought up a good point of they're not knowing their place. And Nick actually in the comments said, if payments really is where they're getting the growth, the obstacle for them is in the enterprise. They now have this conflicting strategy, right? They want to go up market. They're going after enterprise. Payments is their growth strategy. Big companies don't want to be held hostage. Can they reconcile these two things that conflict with each other?
as they move to these version enterprise, the path is going to become clearer for them if they can really be successful in that space. But again, my belief is they're a platform. They should be focused on the product and making that the best product it could be. And yes, it's very tempting to think that you could be an Amazon and that you could drive traffic and that you could do advertising, you could do other things, but those are very expensive things to do. And I just don't think Shopify can offer that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Shopify, it to some extent recognizes that. One of the fun quotes I got out of the earnings call, I think everything's an earnings call, right? Of the investor day is they were like, we're not trying to give sellers fish. We're trying to teach them the fish.
Yes.
And I think giving them fish would basically mean sending them traffic. And so I think they recognize that they're not going to be good at that. And so I think that's interesting there. If you have comments about Shopify, things that we would like to cover,